You're watching Revelation, the program with a biblical perspective.
For the next 3 programs, you can witness the most incredible testimony of a young man who was stung by the deadly box jellyfish. He was pronounced dead by the hospital doctors. They tied a tag on his toe and placed him in the morgue. He then found himself first in hell, and then later he was standing before the living God. Ian did not believe in either heaven or hell before this experience, but he now testifies about these places because God gave him his life back in order to encourage us that there is life after death, and there is a new heaven and a new earth, which God has prepared for those who believe, just as promised in the Bible book of Revelation chapter 21. Here is the first of 3 parts of this very fascinating testimony.
I was just travelling around the world, my experience with God. I was surfing, and I had a diving accident where it appears as though I was pronounced clinically dead for approximately 15 minutes. And during that time, I found myself caught up in the presence of God, and just continually wave after wave of His love and acceptance began to flow through me. It's like a tangible presence of God, and His light just flooded me with incredible peace. And as I stood in His presence and encountered more of God, it radically transformed my life. Prior to this, as you're saying, I was a non-Christian, I was an atheist. And my concept of God was that, well, He wasn't there. It was just all fairy tales. It was all mythology. It was obviously for weak people who believed in religion, couldn't handle reality. So for me, it was a transforming point in my life. I was 24 years of age, and I had been traveling for 2 years, from 1980 to 82, surfing, like hitchhiking around the world through Southeast Asia and through Africa. And I'd ended up on a small island called Mauritius. This island had great surf, good diving. I thought I could retire here. I'd sailed there in 81 and seen it and gone back to it from Africa. And the fishermen that I lived with were Creoles. They were laid back, lived off the ocean. And I just surfed with them and dived with them. While I was diving on the island, they taught me to night dive. Now I'd taught people how to dive and instructed them. I was a qualified lifeguard, but I'd never night dived. And these fishermen taught me to night dive. It's quite freaky, you know, going out at night. But we used to dive on the outer reef. Mauritius, it drops off about 13,000 feet. It's basically a submerged mountain. And so we'd dive on the outer reef from 11 at night to about 1 in the morning. And as we dived, we'd look with our diving torches, because the crabs and the crayfish would come out, and they're scavengers, so they'd scavenge the reef. And with your torchlight, you could blind them. And with your leather gloves, just pick them up. So we would catch as much seafood as we could, sell it to the tourist hotel, which is how the fishermen earned their living. And for me, I wasn't into the money, I was just into seafood. So go home, cook a bunch up, have a good feed, and, you know, crawl into bed about 2 in the morning and have a bunch of seafood. You know, parrotfish would be asleep, so you get a few fish for dinner and plenty of seafood. And so we were living on these, you know, when you travel for 2 years, you've got to live pretty cheaply. And so we were living on about $1 to $2 US a day in small huts on the village, near the village. This particular night I went out diving. It was a bit different because I saw there was a storm at sea, and I thought, oh, there's something, maybe the surf will come up on the reef. So I'd dive for years, so I thought, oh, I talked to my friend Simon. I said, oh, Simon, the surf might come up, it'd be dangerous. He said, oh no, this storm will miss us, Ian. We go to a new place tonight. You see best diving in Mauritius. Now, like a good fisherman, he threw out his bait, reeled me in, and so at 11 that night we got all our diving gear in the fishing boat and rowed off out through the lagoon, crossed the outer reef, and then rowed and poled our way down from Tamarin Bay, where I was living, to a place called Rivière Noire, Black River. As we slipped in, it was quite dark because the clouds were coming in, so there was no real moonlight, and it was a little bit of a chop on the water. But as I slipped into the water, my 2 friends had already gone in. As I slipped in, something smashed into my arm and stung me. Oh, I wondered what on earth it was. It felt like an electrical shock. Now, the other 2 divers had swum off to my left, going up onto the reef, and I'd just been hit by something. I couldn't see what it was. It was excruciating pain, like electricity had gone into my arm. My first thought, electric eel. I thought, well, I've never seen an electric eel, don't even know, you know what I mean, except in an aquarium. What was that? So I looked around the water and started making out these jellyfish. I thought, well, it can't be them. You know what I mean, jellyfish don't do that. You know, they'll sting you, but nothing like that. But these jellyfish are a bit different. They were bell-shaped or torpedo-shaped at the top, then box-shaped, finger-like tentacles. I thought, well, is that a jellyfish? Yeah, it must be. So I reached out and grabbed it with my gloves, and sure enough, it was a jelly. As it swam through, I had no idea that I'd just reached out with my leather gloves and grabbed potentially well, some books say the deadliest, some say the second deadliest creature known to man, a box jellyfish, obviously, because it's box-shaped. But I'd never read anything on it. I'd never heard about it. And so here, I just had a box jellyfish go through my hand. Now, this particular species in Australia is well known and has killed over 70 people. In New Zealand, no one's really even heard of them because it's colder water. We're further south, so these particular jellyfish are more in the tropical regions. And it has killed over 70 people. It's so deadly that some scientists are now saying the venom is more deadly than cobra, taipan and black mamba. But as this jellyfish went through my hand, I thought, oh, well, I wonder what that is. Kept swimming. Then as I kept looking for crays, something else smashed in my arm. This time I saw the tentacles of this jellyfish going past me. I realised, oh man, I must have been hit the first time by one. I began to swim over towards the reef to talk to my friends about them, and another one hit me. And I thought, gosh, there's so many. There's heaps of them in the water. It's like I'd swum into like a whole soup of them. Now, jellyfish are very hard to see at the best of time because they're so transparent, but at night, very, very hard to see. And they were kind of smashing into me. As I asked my friend to surface, he came up, he said, "Christopher, man, what's happening?" I said, "Something hit me, Simon." He said, "You get out on the reef, brother, we have a look." So he had been swimming off to the left, and the jellies are over here to the right, and he hadn't seen them yet. As I put my head back into the water to climb up onto the reef, coming off the outer reef, just the surge of the tide, was a jellyfish being dragged back into my face. As I put my face directly in its path, I had one shot. It was either going to hit my neck, or all I did was just roll in the water, throw my arm in front of my face to protect my throat, and got hit a fourth time. As the fourth one hit me, I pulled the tentacles off and climbed up onto the coral reef. There's a low tide, so it's about 2 foot covering the reef. As I stood there, I looked at my arm with my torch, and what amazed me is my arm had already swollen to double its normal size. Where the tentacles are hit were like burn blisters, and I could feel the toxin pumping through my blood system up into my lymph gland with excruciating pain. I thought, man, what's happening? My right lung started to be constricted as I stood there. Perspiration was pouring off me, and it felt like a branding iron had been put on my arm. As my friend Simon came out of the water, he looked at my arm, and in French he went, "Qu'est-ce que c'est, Jan? What's happening?" I showed him my arm. He went, "Invisible." It's like he knew what it was. And when he said in French, "Invisible," I recognised it to be invisible one. Well, this jellyfish was so invisible, I thought, yeah, okay, invisible. He said, "Pardon, invisible, tac, c'est fini for you." And in French, he's telling me, "C'est fini" means the end. One's enough to kill you. Now, this man had been diving since a child. He was one of the most respected fishermen in the village. The Creoles hated diving at night. It took courage for a man to conquer the fear of darkness and night diving, so they respected him for it. And so he stood there, and I watched him turn his torch onto his face, and he went as white as a sheet. He said, "How come you not know, Ian? This one kill you, brother." I said, "I not know Simon. You think white men know everything, huh? I not know this one." He said, how many hit you, huh? How many tuck?" I went, "Cut en bizarre 4. He went, "Impossible, impossible, allez, vitement, 4 hospital." Now, this man loved me. I knew him. He was a great friend of mine. And, I mean, I knew that when he was telling me to get out of here, we had to move. And I heard him say hospital, 4, which was just up behind the village. Trouble is, I'm standing on the outer reef, miles away from the hospital. It's the middle of the night. He drags me back into the water. The other night diver comes alongside me, and I know that they're protected because they've got full wetsuits. To them, the water's cold, you see. To me, the water's hot. My wetsuit, unfortunately, was a short-sleeve vest with a long john. My forearms were exposed, and my neck. The other divers had full hoods on. booties, I mean, and full steamers, 3mm steamers, so they were completely protected. As they came alongside me, they pulled me up to the side of the boat. The young boy, who's a 14-year-old kid from the village, grabbed my left arm and began to pull me to safety. As they did, my right arm, which was paralysed, trailing in the water, got hit with a fifth one. As I felt that, I thought to myself, what on earth have you done to deserve this kind of punishment or payback? I had a flood of memories of stuff that I'd done wrong in my life. And here I am thinking, well, there's no use thinking about that, whether I deserve it or not. I'm dying. I better keep my head together here. They dragged the fishing boat over the coral reef into the lagoon. As they did, I heard them yell into the young boy to get me to shore. I turned and said, Simon, come with me. Please help me. He said, Ian, no more to... wait, pal. Go, brother, you die. Allez, allez. And I realised I was in trouble, man. I turned and said, Simon, my arm, what can I do? And he spoke to me in French. I didn't understand. He said, Je ne comprends pas. Je ne comprends. I cannot understand you. He put his finger out and motioned with his finger to urinate. I thought he means to pee on your arm. Yep. I thought, that's it. Urinate. Vinegar will do it. Maybe urine will help and be like a bush medicine. Peeling my wetsuit off because it's constricting my breathing, I urinated over my arm, made sure I didn't rub the toxin in anymore, and got changed into my sweats. See, my wetsuit was preventing me from breathing. So as I got changed, I sat down on the boat and thought I must keep as calm as possible. I thought if my heart beats too quickly, the adrenaline rush will pump the toxin, hit my vital organs, I'm gone. So I'm a lifeguard, so I know what's going down. I know I need to get antitoxins. The way these guys are reacting, it's not some little joke. This is life-death stuff. As the young boys pulling me through the lagoon, I'm sitting there as calm as possible, but I feel the poison move into my kidneys, like someone stuck their fist into my back, as the poison continued to move down the right-hand side of my body. Tinges of it are coming through into my eyes, and I'm having difficulty seeing. It's getting blurry as I'm looking at the beach. I thought, man, this is deadly stuff. As I hit the beach, the young boy motions for me to get out. I take one step forward, and my right leg crumples underneath me as I collapse into the bottom of the boat. As I hit the bottom, I realize the poison has already numbed or paralyzed the right-hand side of my body. The young kid says, put the arm around my neck, so I do that, grab my right arm, which is paralyzed, and hang on to him, and this young kid does an amazing feat, only a small kid, carried me up across the sandy beach, which is really hard, up through the houses and the bungalows and the palm trees, up onto the main road. As he got me there, he turned and yelled in French that he wanted to go and help get his brothers, that he's afraid. He said, mon frère, sur la plage. And I realized he was afraid that his brothers would be killed. And so the kid panicked. I said, no, ambulance, gendarme, you know what I mean? Please. And the kid took off. As I sat there on the road, the poison hit me, and I started to feel very weak and tired. And I had no idea that this particular poison often kills within 10 or 15 minutes. This particular jellyfish usually takes adults down within 10 or 15 minutes. What generally happens is that they fall into a coma, never come out of it. Here I am, finding myself very tired and very sleepy. I just lay down on the ground, thinking that I'm just holding it together. As I do, I feel my eyes beginning to shut, and as my eyes begin to close, I hear a voice speak to me. It says, son, if you close your eyes, you shall never awake again. I thought, what? Who said that? As I looked to my right, I expected to see a man standing next to me, but there was no one there. I thought, that's bizarre. I just heard a man speak to me. I looked around, there's no one there. And just to set your mind at rest, you know, we're not used to hearing voices. They're talking to you out of the middle of nowhere. They have your straight jacket in a padded cell, bounce around like a ping pong ball, you know what I mean? So I am lying there hearing a voice speak to me, but there's no one there. I thought, what did the voice say? Close your eyes, you'll never awake again? I thought, that means death. You idiot? That would have been a coma. That's not sleep. That's comatized certain death. I look at it now, in hindsight, had I not heard that voice, I know I'd have closed my eyes and that'll been it. I'd have died. I'd have been like most of the other people in Australia, been killed by this thing, slip into a coma, never come out. Within 10 minutes, they're dead. And I was in peak condition. I hadn't eaten meat for years. I was a veggie. And I mean, I was in top condition, not an ounce of fat on me. But this poison was taking me down. And I thought, I've heard that voice, whatever it is, it says you're going to die. So I stood up, fought off the death that was coming on me as best I could, and found my left leg was still strong enough to support my weight. I used my right leg as a crutch and put my weight onto the left-hand side of my body and hobble down the road looking for help. All the lights are out. There's a deserted part of the island anyhow. All these big homes, but the French don't come down except in the summer, you see. And this is May. There's no one there yet. As I moved down, I could see a small petrol station, Caltex station. I hobbled in there, and amazingly enough, the petrol station was closed, but there were 3 East Indian men in their taxis. I leaned up against one of their cabs and they said, "Oh, you're drunk." I said, "I'm not drunk, I'm dying. I've been stung by poisonous jellyfish. Sur la plage. Envie Saba. I need to get to Catremont Hospital." They said, "We have French client, restaurant. We not need other passengers. Sorry, white man. Cannot help you." Walked away. I said, "I'm dying. Please help me." They kept walking. I said, "I give you money." They stopped. Yeah, in certain parts of the world money speaks, especially the taxi drivers. Yeah. They stopped. As they stopped, they turned, one put his hand out and he said, "How much money you give me, white man? I take you to hospital." He looked at his watch to see if he could pull another fare in. Well, I'm dying here in front of him and he's arguing over the fare. I said, "Look, I don't care for the money. $50, $100, who cares? I'm dying." He put his hand and he said, "Let me see your money now, white man. I take you to hospital." Well, at that point, I'm thinking, I don't believe this guy. I said, "Look, I don't have it with me." The moment those words came out, that was a mistake, because all 3 of them walked away laughing. They said, "You have no money, you stupid white man. What do you think we are? Walk away." I heard this voice speak to me and said, "Son, are you willing to beg for your life?" As I heard that, I thought, beg? I've seen men in Africa beg. Yes, boss. Yes, boss. Couldn't stand seeing it. Coming from New Zealand, I've never seen stuff like that. And so I couldn't stand seeing a man beg to another man. But I watched these men walk. I thought, beg? I wonder if I begged. I bet you that will work. These Indians have never seen a white man beg, not in this part of the world. I've got nothing to lose. I'm nearly dead. I slipped down onto my knees in front of them, fell onto my knees because my right leg was gone, my left leg was weak, lifted my right hand, which is paralyzed, and pleaded for my life. As I did that, 2 of them kept walking, lighting up a fag, thought it was a great joke. The 3rd one stopped and looked at me. I said, "Look, I am dead serious. It's dead set, man. I'll die in front of you if you don't help me. I have the money. Please help me." He walked over towards me, helped me to my feet without a word, put me in his taxi. I thought, great. As he took off towards the hospital, he turned to me and he said, "What hotel room you stay? White man, I get my money from you." I thought, hotel room, money? This guy's still thinking of money. "Well, I don't stay in a hotel. I stay in the bungalow," I responded to him. I stay on the beach with a fisherman. He said, "You lied to me. You tourist, you stay in a hotel." I said, "I'm not a tourist, I'm a traveller. I live not in a hotel, I live in Tamarin Bay with a fisherman in a bungalow." He said, you stay Tamarin Bay Hotel?" Because there's a small hotel there near the village. I said, "No, man, I stay with a fisherman. Please, I have the money." He said, "You lied to me? I take you to a tourist hotel. They look after you. Why you lied to me? Why you do this to me?"
Didn't understand.
He didn't understand. No money, that's it, no hotel room, forget it. He thinks I've scammed him. He pulls off the main road down to the village where I live. As he stops, across from the village is a small Chinese hotel. He stops and said, "You get out now." I said, okay, getting out, man. Stop hassling me. I have the money, please, huh? He said, and I try to get out. As I try to move, the left leg, I found to my horror, was now paralyzed also. The toxin had taken the entire lower trunk out. I turned and said, "My legs are gone, man. Please help me, huh? I have the money." He said, "You get out now." I said, "I can't, my legs are gone." He took my safety belt off, opened the passenger door, and just shoved me out, eh? As I flew out the door, I couldn't believe what was happening. But I looked up to see that when I hit the ground, my legs didn't make it. My feet were still caught in the door sill of the passenger side of his taxi. He couldn't close the door. I watched him lean over from the driver's seat, shove my feet out, and look at me in the face in disgust, close the door and drive off. I thought, I don't believe it. Why on earth would a man do that? For $50, man. All he has to do is another 5-10 minutes up the hill and I'm in the hospital. As he took off, I lay there and thought, I don't want to live on this miserable planet. If that's how fellow man treats fellow man for 50 miserable bucks, I'm not afraid to die. If it's my time to die now, if my number's up, do yourself a favour, son, and die here. I'm sick of this place. Now I lay there thinking that's it. But as I lay there, one of the security guards in the hotel must have seen the taxi. So he ran out, shone his torch around the car park to see if there's any tourists coming late from the airport. Here I was on the ground in a crumpled heap. As he ran over, I heard the voice of a fisherman, one of the fishermen. I thought, that's Danielle. He said, I heard his voice saying, Kisafer, Ian, what happened to you, brother? Never see you like this. What you do on the ground, man? What you take tonight? He thought I was drunk or stoned or something. And so he ran over, and he's my drinking buddy from the village. I didn't realise he was a security guard, you see. Did a bit of extra money on the side, you know. And so I pulled my sweatshirt up, showed him a scarred forearm. The moment he saw it, he realised, because he's a diver, he said, "On bizarre." I went, oui, Daniel. He said, "Pardon, c'est fini for you. You dive with Simon tonight, Le Mans." I said, "Oui." He said, "Pardon," carrying me in his arms. He raced me to the hotel. Near the swimming pool, there was the bar, and the Chinese owners that ran the place had closed the bar, so all the tourists had gone to bed, but they were there gambling, playing mahjong amongst themselves, drinking whiskey. As these Chinese men looked at me, they said, "What's wrong with you? You're drunk." I said, "I'm not drunk. I'm dying. I need to go to Cuttermore Hospital. Please help me. I've been stung by a poisonous jellyfish." And as I'm speaking this, Danielle takes off into the night. As these men looked at me, I said, I'm trying to explain. I said, we don't understand you. What you say? We don't understand you. I said, my arm, I pulled my sleeve up. It had worked for my friend just a minute ago. Thought if they see my scars on my arm, they might realise I'm in serious trouble. So I pulled my sweatshirt up. They saw the scarred forearm. And the Chinese owner, he stood up, he said, "Wow, what you do, you stupid white man? You put the needle in the arm? Oh, the old man, he take the opium, huh? The pipe. Why you put the needle in, you stupid white man?" I'm sitting there going, where's Danielle gone? These guys think I'm a drug addict, and I'm nearly dead. As I sit there, I see out of the corner of my right eye, my fingers start twitching. As I turn, I see muscle tissue between my knuckles going into spasms. Within a few seconds, my whole arm starts to tremble. It moves up into my face, and my teeth begin to literally be smashed into each other as my jaw goes out of control. Next minute, my entire face and body is in what I call the death rattles, muscular contortions, shaking to bits in front of them. As this deadly shaking's going on, I watch the Chinese men run towards me and try and hold me down. As they do, I'm throwing them off, like rag dolls. My body comes out of this deathly shakes, and I feel go through the core of my body an icy cold breeze, like very, very cold. I said, I'm freezing, man. They ran and got blankets. The old guy thought I must have taken a poison in my stomach. He tried to pour milk down my throat, at least he was thinking. As I'm sitting there, I feel the poison moving into my bone marrow, and not the poison, but death, like an icy cold death, necrosis, moving into my bone marrow and coming up towards to my upper body. As I'm sitting there, I know if this necrosis hits my upper body, I'm going to die in front of them. I'm gone. I'm dehydrated, paralysed, muscular contortions, now necrosis setting in. At university, I'd done veterinary science as one of my subjects, and I did my degree in agriculture, so I knew from my own physiology I was in serious trouble. I had to get to the hospital. I turned, looked in the car park of the hotel, one vehicle. I recognised it instantly to belong to the Chinese owner who was now standing next to me. I said, "Sir, your car. Could you please take me to Cuttermore Hospital or I'll die in front of you? Please help me, sir. I'm nearly dead, eh? Can you take me in your car?" The Chinese man, he looked at his car. He put his hand on my shoulder. He said, "Oh, my car, huh? Cannot laugh. How come you so worried, white man, huh? Wait for ambulance for you. Don't worry, huh? Cannot take my car. We have ambulance for you. How come you so worried?" How come I so worried? I'm about to die, mate. You ever feel like hitting someone?
Yes.
I mean, I'm not an angry person or a vindictive kind of, you know what I mean? I'm not. I'm pretty mellow, but I tell you what, I felt like punching his lights out. I sat there and every part of me thought, how can I rearrange his face? You know, you hate it when someone touches you? You know what I mean? They're just in your space. Well, there's not only in my space, it's in my face. I thought I'll hit him. I was just about to plant him one, but my arm wouldn't respond. My mind was saying, smash him. My hand wouldn't move. I thought, great, it's paralysed. I tried my left hand, it moved. I thought, what on earth could I do with my left hand before I died? I thought, my forehead, I could give him a headbutt. So I play a lot of rugby at home, you know, I mean, every now and then you get into some pretty heavy stuff, so I'm about to rip him down into my forehead. As I'm about to do that, this voice comes again. It said, "Son, if you do that, the adrenaline rush will kill you, the toxin's too close to your heart." I thought, that's true. I looked away. I thought, if I survive this, I'll find you. Oh, I'm going to get you, Jack, your history. Oh, I'm staring out here, controlling my anger, again wondering what this voice was. But it had literally just stopped me from killing myself. As I looked away, trying to control it, my anger, I watched my friend Danielle come sprinting towards me. Next to him, another security guard. As they grab me in their arms, they carry me towards the entrance of the hotel, and I see, as they're carrying me, the headlights of a small vehicle comes flying into the car park. As I see it come around, it's an ambulance. Small Renault with an ambulance written on the side of it. The guy that's driving it doesn't see us because his headlights miss us, and it was a Creole that rang them, so they thought the boys must be stoned or drunk or off their face, false alarm. The Frenchman driving it changed gear and drove out without even stopping. He didn't even come in. As he took off around the corner, I'm slung between my two friends watching this happen. I think you're in a Grand Prix or something? And I can't whistle. I'm dehydrated. My friend lets me go, chases after the guy whistling, doing a huge wolf whistle, trying to get the guy's attention. Fortunately, he stops him in the road before he gets up onto the main road. The guy backs up. The other security guard throws me in, gets me into the ambulance. We take off. As we race towards the hospital, it's on a ridge, but they inadvertently put my feet in the front seat. My head's in the back seat. As I begin to climb the ridge to where the hospital is, the toxin that's now in my lower body starts to naturally drain down into my lungs, into my heart, and I feel it starting sweeping into my brain, and I feel compartments of my mind literally shutting down with the poison. It's a weird sensation, but I knew I was dying. As this continued to happen, I start to see on the inside of the ambulance what appears to be a small boy with white hair. I see sections of some kid's life with snow white hair. I then realize as I'm looking at it that this is me. This is sections of my own personal life. I thought, am I that close? With my mind, I did a mental check, you know what I mean? Of my own vital signs. My mind told me I am very close to death. As I'm lying there, I think, well, I could be that close to death. I may not make it. I thought, if I don't make it and die before I get to the hospital, what would happen to me? Is there life after death, or when a man dies, is that it? Finished. Cessation life. Well, as a heathen, as an atheist, I reckon when you died, it was all over. The trouble was, I wasn't sure. How many know you can be wrong? You know what I mean? Ever been wrong in your life? Well, I was a gambler, and I'm gambling with my life here. I think, hey, if I'm wrong here, I'm gambling. It's like Russian roulette. I could be wrong here. I thought, I have no idea what will happen to me if I died. As I lay there, I began to see appear now before me my mother. As I saw her, I was amazed because as I looked at her, I could see she was praying. I thought, what's my mum doing here? As I saw her praying, she looked straight up into my eyes. She said these words. She said, Ian, no matter what you've done in your life, son, no matter how far from God you may be, if you'll but call out to God from your heart, God will hear you and God will forgive you, son. I thought, forgive me? God? What's all this stuff about God? Is there a God? I had no idea until I returned back to New Zealand that at that precise moment on the other side of the world, my mother was on her knees praying for me. She's the only believer in our family. And she had prayed every day of our lives, all the kids, the whole family, every day, every one of them. And God had just spoken to her in prayer and said, your eldest son Ian is nearly dead, pray for him now. I thank God for a woman who knew God and didn't give up on her son and kept praying even to the end.
Please don't miss part 2 of this 3-part series when Ian McCormack will reveal what he experienced when God spoke to him face to face. Some of you might be saying, how can this possibly be true? I want you to know that with God all things are possible. Believe me, I know. Until next program, goodbye.
You've been watching Revelation, the program with a biblical perspective. For further information on this or other programs, please go to our website, www.rtv.uk.com, or telephone 0208 255 3333. We are interested in your comments and welcome any biblically based questions that you may have. Address your emails to comments@rtv.uk.com. Thank you for watching.